Hello, hello. It's just us. What do we say, Bubba? We say hello.
Hold on.
Good
Wait,
morning, good morning, or good evening, good evening. Say
Oh,
hello.
wait. How come I can't go on?
You should be able to.
Let me see. Okay, there it is. I was like, huh, how come it doesn't go on? So I had a question.
Yeah.
Today earlier during the class this morning, you were talking about, I think it's called the meets and bounds.
Yeah.
Can you further explain information about that? I know we kind of vaguely went over it during class, but can you
It's not vague. It's not vague at all. I struggle with meets and bounds like nobody's
wait,
business.
she went over some of it. I was like, but I think I need to ask more questions about it because I wasn't sure.
No, that was more like okay, guys, I'm terrible at this, so good luck. But that's not the way to look at it.
That's what I was like. I thought the same thing.
But part of the reason that I do kind of handle things that way isn't is just for the reality of it, that it's pulling teeth. But let me look at let me pull up some information. I'm going to try not to go over to Twitch. Twitch is really just for people to come in.
Okay.
But that are not part of the class because meets and bounds. Okay, hold on a second, because the meets and bounds in the third book is so much better than.
Oh, there's more explanation. More so maybe I don't need to know so much right now.
No. If you're asking, there's somebody else out there that's asking too, and it just so happens that they're not asking at this time, so it's okay. So let me do meets and bounds, California real estate, and see if we can't get some type of better explanation.
Okay.
Boundary disputes. So meets and bounds also allow you to be flexible to flexibly describe irregular property shapes. But the boundaries are far less precise than typical rectangular systems. And I should have said something along those lines, because that makes a lot more sense on why they would use meets and bounds, because it's not like, hold on just a second. Bubba. My poor dog. We didn't get to do an evening
walk.
Yeah, we meant to. The heart was willing, but the wet feet were not.
It's
she
raining
went outside
probably.
And she's like, well, more her than me, and she's like, I'm done. And I'm like, I totally get it. Okay, so meets and bounds allow you flexibility with irregular property shapes, but the boundaries are less precise. Oh, if you can't see what I'm seeing, how are you going to see what I'm seeing?
Oh, I have my book open on the meets and bounds on page 146 from today's class.
Yeah, that's okay. But I want to be able to show you where
I'm. Okay, sure.
Where I'm getting some.
What you were reading, some more information.
Yeah. That way we can also put it in the. Oh, my poor computer is freaking out. Hold on just a second.
That's okay.
I'll stop sharing that screen. It's doing the window of a window of a window of a window. That's okay. I'll do in chat. I'll put in what I'm reading.
Okay. That way I could, you know what I've been doing is copy and pasting your links and put it in notes. In my notes, if I see something you put up on the chat info.
Absolutely. We're gonna share anyway. I'm okay if it goes window within a window within a window. I don't have a problem with that. If the system freaks out, it freaks out. There's nothing I can do about that. We're not on Twitter. We're Twitch. We're on Twitch as an addition, but we're not. So hopefully it'll be okay. So meets and bounds also allow you to be flexible to describe irregular property shapes, but the boundaries are not less. But the boundaries are far less precise with the typical than a particular rectangular system more commonly used today. So this would definitely be a situation where meets and bounds would be used on quite large properties, or on something that isn't necessarily considered a standard in-town subdivision. So if your family owned 1,000 acres, your 1,000 acres next to the family next to you, like as an example, my great-grandparents, when my great-grandfather, he got the property here in California before he was married, and he didn't get married till he was like 45. So he had time to have pool resources and money. So with that being said, the 300 acres he got in the Silicon Valley, the lines weren't straight. And the reason we know that meets and bounds were used during that particular period of time is when so he was no longer on the earth. My grandmother and grandfather owned the property at that time, had been given the property, if you want to call it given. I think they still had to pay for it and stuff anyway. But when the neighbor next to my grandparents wanted to sell his property, what he did was he made the property line straight down so that they could get additional so that the all of the streets and everything would work within the parameters of what he wanted to do with the property. And he also made the line straight in such a way that it took out one of my grandparents' springs. They owned the mineral rights and then the natural water rights to the property. So he took out the springs because he knew that he could fungoli the situation. My grandmother not being a really confrontational person, and my grandfather being overly confrontational, kind of left out the fact that they probably needed to be at a meeting at some point. Anyway, all being said, at some point he came back and said, you took advantage of us, to my grandparents, because when he cut the line straight down, it was a meets and bounds situation. When he cut the line straight down in order to be able to put in these four-walled, I guess the subdivision split all the parcels into four, right? Four sides. He cut an acre of his property out because meets and bounds. So you could kind of think of it like almost like a school district, the lines between two school districts where the lines aren't,
That's how little I look at it every time.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Let me hold on just a second. Oh my goodness, I hear the Bob Barkers of the world. I'm so happy that everyone brought their fur babies. That's good. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. So, sorry, I just muted everyone. I apologize. So that being said, meets and bounds were set in such a way. I hope I didn't just kick everyone out. Meets and bounds were set as the parameters for not straight lines, for going around a tree or going up over a hill or going over a rock formation or something along those lines. So the lines weren't straight. And that's where the meets and bounds come into place. But in that same respect, part of the reason I will share with you from the very beginning that this whole description of property is such a pain in the neck, and why I struggle with it isn't because I'm trying to take away anyone else's rights to be able to understand it. It has everything to do with the fact that I'm serious when I say that explaining meets and bounds are going to be tough, especially in 2023. Hold on a second. Squeaker. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I hope you can't. She's having a tough day. Guys, the fur baby's having a tough day, having a tough afternoon. She slept all day and now she's ready to rock and roll. And we're not rocking or rolling this evening. Anyway, all that being said, meets and bounds is a tough thing. So that's why I pulled up Greenacre Law. Not that that's going to be the best place to find information, but we're trying to water down the concentrated version of what is found in the book so that it's a little bit more understood. So meets and bounds would it be associated with the different things on the property to make, you're going 300, you go 300 feet this way, and then there's the oak tree with one limb that's cockeyed sideways, and then so and then we turn a little bit to the left or we turn a little bit to the right and stand up, sit down, fight. So that's meets and bounds, which doesn't help us that much, but I can do more information with regard to meets and bounds because I know that's not, it'll help you get through the book, but it won't necessarily help you get through a situation where you're helping a family that has, 15,000 acres and they're wanting to subdivide or do some of this other stuff. We don't have to have that exact information. We just need to be familiar with meets and bounds versus some of the other ways that we can explain how to describe property or explain how to present property by description. Let me open some more stuff. So hold on just a second. Where did it go? I don't need to see myself on the Twitters, on the tweets, on the Twitches, I mean. Let's do, I lost the screen. That's okay. Screens get lost. That's just the way it goes. Let me see if I can't put information, because we have a PowerPoint for tonight based on the questions that were sent in by email. And you're like, I didn't know I had to send anything by email. You didn't have to. I just happened to get it up and running. And I'll give you guys links to the, actually, I can share the link to the PowerPoint right now. Hold on just a moment. Now, if I get kicked out, I did get kicked out of class today, and I don't have an example or a reason for that. So I do apologize for those of you that were in class with me today and I got kicked out, but thank you for staying. And figuring out how to get me back in, or how I figured to get myself back in. Chat. Carlos, did I just send you a private message? No, I don't think I did. Okay. I might DM you guys, or I might try to slide into your DMs, but it's completely unintentional on my part. I mean that exactly the way it came out. So this is the link to the PowerPoint presentation. We need to go further into meets and bounds than we did. Let me go one step further while we're still waiting, because it's only been 4 minutes since class was allegedly supposed to start. I am sitting in a beach chair. We are still working on the house. If it just take, if it's not one thing, it's another. So let's look further into meets and bounds and see if I can't find something a little bit better than that answer. So usually what I do is I will, push comes to shove, I'll do something like meets and bounds, comma, California real estate, because you're going to find that if you look at any other area of that might have some expertise in it, and it's like Florida law, there's nothing wrong with Florida. Florida's great. Orlando, Florida, Winter Park. I graduated from a college in Winter Park, Florida. I'm totally down for the Floridas of it all, but the reality of the situation is if it doesn't benefit us in the state of California, it doesn't matter what the law is in another, it does matter what the law is in another state, but we really need to make sure that we stay bound to what is the laws, what are the laws in the state of California. Well, okay, so in 1893, California landowners could divide their property as they pleased using meets and bounds. That's kind of interesting. So we're definitely talking about something that has been around for a minute. Control F. When in doubt, Control F, everyone. Meets and bounds. In our series of real estate magic, we discussed the ancient system of meets and bounds. Ugh, that's a snooze fest. No, it's probably fine. Let's see. Hold on just a moment. Until 18 California landowners could divide their property without recording the subdivision, creating even more difficulties. Ugh. All right, so we already have this in there. So what I'm going to do is go here. I'm going to go meets and bounds. I'm going to make a copy of it. Let me go into the PowerPoint that I put into the link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add meets and bounds to the beginning of it. We're going to duplicate the slide. We're going to go in meets and bounds. You're like, I can't see what you're doing. That's okay. I can't usually see what I'm doing either, guys. So we're doing great. Let me share the screen though, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, we're going to do meets and bounds. For those of you that are jumping into Twitch to watch the class, you're going to see the art of the screen showing the screen, showing the screen, showing the screen. You're welcome. I can't explain to you why it's doing that other than it is. And we're going to just live our best life and be cool with it. So when it comes to meets and bounds, until 1893, California landowners, Kathy, make the font larger. What kind of class are you teaching today? Teach the class where you can read. That's more like it, everyone. Oh, I love that you guys jumped in on that lets me know that you guys got the link. Cool. Cooking with gas. You guys are great. Until 1893, California landowners could divide their property as they please using the meets and bounds system without recording a subdivision map. Oh my gosh. Can you even imagine? My neighbor knows where the line is. Well, my grandparents found out their neighbor didn't care. Okay. Creating even more difficulties. You think as California land regulation law modernized, or like circa 2023, these older versions were always grandfathered in. While no land parcel in California can be sold, leased, or financed until a parcel map is filed, The code still exempts subdivided parcels with their partitions under the laws in effect at the time they were established. Holy cow. So that's a little bit of a history. Duplicate the slide. Let's drop this guy down just for a moment so we can kind of get the address. Whoops, I do not want to, I just clicked on something, guys. Nope, we do not want to annotate. There shall be no annotation in this class. Let's get the address, because one thing we do need to know is the address for where I am getting said information. And let's put that in here so we have it under meets and bounds. You're going to notice that in the drive though, that I make sure that the links are very small, but the reality of the situation is the links don't have to be large, they just have to work. So we don't need them to take up a lot of space on that. So let's go a little bit further with meets and bounds. Let's see what else we can find online. Does California use meets and bounds? Yes, we do. What is the meets and bounds description in California? That might be better. Meets and bounds is the oldest surveying method used by property descriptions. It is commonly used for irregular shape, common used, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we kind of already got that answer, but let's run with it because you don't technically need to know more than that. We just need to know the history and the foundation. And we're going to allow that to be the, hold on a second. Bob Barker, keep it down. Charlie Brown, we're working. It's a casual situation, ladies and gentlemen. If this is a little too casual for you, I would apologize, but I'm not going to. Okay, California real estate parcel problems. Nope. Wait, maybe. Nope, we already did that one. Boundary disputes, meets and bounds. This might not be a bad one to check out as well. So we'll put this one down here. We'll change that and we'll go here and then, oops, we do not need a bullet point. And hi, Baba, hold on just a moment. Legal description. And the NC, the in something or other. Which one is this one? What? Oh, not the same one. Okay. Okay, that's good. So we will put this in the PowerPoint as well. So we're going to go here and we'll make this, I don't know, 7. That works. 7 works. Okay. So we're doing meets and bounds. Everybody's in class per se, right? Oh, thanks. I'm getting like the peanut gallery is commenting in the chat. I'm okay with that. So we've got the meets and bounds, history of meets and bounds, the foundation. So meets and bounds were obviously used back circa 1893, back when Levi's were the cat's meow. So that being said, things have progressively changed because meets and bounds were associated with not straight lines as much as the turning at the tree, turning at the, or it goes all the way to the riverbank, and then it immediately goes 90 degrees this way or that way. So meets and bounds were really set up by the meets. Well, not what it meets, but by the way they could regulate it then. I would also venture to say that when people were coming to California, initially it was very much so a, hey, go get a plot of land as quickly as possible, and we'll figure out the property lines later on. Or I was able to pick up 300 acres. If you'll come and help me till the land, I'll give you 50, or I'll give you 150. Or as my grandfather's story, or my great grandfather's story went, his best friend, they lived in Virginia, bought property in California, and he bought it because he was getting married, or he was betrothed to a woman that lived in California, you know, and then she died of the common cold. He came back to Virginia, or went back to Virginia. I've never actually been to our family property in Virginia, and my great grandfather was like, well, what are you doing here, dude? I thought you were going to live the California life. And he's like, well, she died and I don't want the property. So my great grandfather sold his 900 acres in Virginia to buy the 300 acres in California. And then a couple of years later, the local bank contacted my great grandfather and said, hey, if you'll pay the back taxes on that property in Virginia that you sold it to those people, you can have that property. So for the cost of taxes or the back taxes, he was able to get his 900 acres back. Or so the legend goes. My dad and my grandfather and my great grandfather were good storytellers, but there somewhere, if you simmer it down, there's some truth in that. That being said, welcome to class. It is 6:43. We start at 6:30. We should not be here very long. If you ask questions, I will help you. We'll walk through, we'll answer them. Let's do the PowerPoint. And then if you have questions on the way, we'll add it to the PowerPoint. For those of you in the principles class, the practice class, or the legal aspects courses, or you're interested in taking the classes with us or with me, I'm Kathleen Kahn. I teach at LACCD. I teach for Calabria and a number of other private schools online. We've got Real Estate Express, we've got Calabria Real Estate, we've got Rockwell, and we've got Allied Schools. And I have people asking me all the time if I can help them answer some questions. I can get you to the educational form of it, but I'm obviously a realtor, but I'm not doing any selling or helping anyone list or anything. I'd love to help you. If you have any real estate questions, I can kind of help you get through the book, or say, hey, find a real estate attorney in your area. But I don't really give out advice. I definitely don't give out tax advice, but that's an example that we need to do as realtors. So what do I do with my students? I present it as though you are already a realtor with me. So I'm bringing the future into the present. You are now all real estate agents or realtors, and we're going to talk through it. Now, when I say that you're a realtor, I can't really say that, because you have to have a membership with the local association, which gets you a membership with CAR and NAR, right? California Association of Realtors and National Association of Realtors. But I just want to speak into this multiverse, if you will, and present that you guys are already agents, so that we can talk shop and put ourselves in the position as the agent, because we need to take all of this stuff that we're doing out of theory and bring it into our real lives, so that we can like talk through. So in the classes, or anytime you've done a live session with me, we'll use people as an example. Okay, but we're selling house, or we're selling, or so I don't know. I keep bringing up Sonia. She's been in my class off the tip of my tongue for the last few weeks, right? It's Sonia's client is buying Michael's house, and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about things with regard to how to do it that way. Let's jump into the PowerPoint, because that was what, hold on a second. I've had a couple students ask me some questions on like, what can we do? How can we deep dive? And it's hard when you have a 4 or a 5 week class to get 15 chapters of information, not only in, but also answer any of the deep dives. So these Thursday evenings, and hopefully we'll keep them as a Thursday evening, we will keep these as a deep dive. I'm okay whether you're in the legal aspects, the practice, or the principal classes with me. Whatever class it is, whatever question is asked of you by you as students is going to benefit everybody in the class, because you guys want to get your state exam, pass the state exam, right? So hence, we're going to build this so that it works to benefit everybody in the classroom, and not one particular person is feeling outside the scope of being shared with. So let's do, I know the computer's starting to freak out again. It'll be okay. Okay. I hear the squeak in the the background, so we're doing good. She's in the other room. So meets and bounds are the the first two slides. Anything that we do in class is going to be part of the Google Drive. If you need me to send you an invite to the Google Drive where we do stuff that's not necessarily like on Canvas or in a particular other area, some type of your student platform, you can email me and I will add you. I will send you an invite to our Google Drive so that you have that at your fingertips. My personal email address is in the chat. 732-723-7326 is my Google Voice number. You can text me and you can call. If I don't pick up, it's probably because I'm either in class or meeting with a student or doing something else. This is my side hustle, my sidekick. I mean, say hello. Say hello. What does she say? Does she? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. I love you. Now go play. You're doing great. Cooking with gas. Okay. So all of that being said, this is us. Oh, she's back. And she's back. She's like, I want to still be on your lap. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I know. You need attention. I need attention too. I know. All right. So I had a couple people ask me about the real estate contracts. I received an email saying, can I go over slides 20 and 21 with regards to the Unit 3 review? And I said, sure, no problem. So I actually put them in here and we're going to discuss. So slide 21 is encumbrances, limitations on real property. What's real property? That's all property. And that's the land part of it, right? And then personal property can be added to the real property, and that's personal property builds the house on the property, and because it's hardwired in or because it's put on a foundation and built into the property, now it has now become part of that real property, right? So let's talk about appurtenant easements. An appurtenance is anything used for the benefit of the land. And how does it benefit the land? Well, it goes with the land. So it's appurtenant means appurtenant with the land means that it's going with the land. So it'd be something that benefits the land and the land only. An easement, appurtenant, has a servient and a dominant tenement. The owners whose land is being used is the one giving the easement, and the land is the servient. So how would you present this? The house that we live in right now is the servient tenement, and the dominant tenement is the property behind us that is landlocked. And what that means is there's no way for them to get to their property but through our property. That easement, that appurtenant easement, it goes with the property. Am I on the wrong slides? Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You can, I appreciate that you're sending the questions now. We'll get to them. I promise we'll get to them. All right. So our house is the servient tenement to the dominant tenement. The house behind us cannot get out. And because we are on a slope that's going up a hill, the house behind us, even though there's a road above their property, the road above their property is at the roof of the second floor of their home. So there would have to be some type of engineering to get that road to work for them, but they might have to take a house out in order to get the road onto their property in order to get on that road to get off the property, if that makes any sense. So that being said, the servient tenement is us. There is an appurtenant easement. There's an easement that goes with the property. So if we sell the property, that easement stays with the property, and that property that we have right here, the property where the easement is on, we can't build a garage. We can't build a gate and require the people behind us to pay the toll to get through. We can't do any of that stuff. We are servant to them. They are dominating. Their property dominates our property. There's that servient or that appurtenant easement that for us, the servient tenement, that appurtenant easement goes through our property like an alley, if you will, but it is a road through our property, and they can't just park there and then have a barbecue. That goes with the land, but they must use it to get to their property. They have to park on their property, and then when they leave their property, they've got to take the road back through, or that easement, that appurtenant easement, that easement that we have with our property that goes with it. Now, if something were to happen to the property behind us, like it goes up for sale and we happen to buy it, that easement, that appurtenant easement is no longer needed because we own all of it. We own all of the things. And if we own all of the things, then we don't have to worry about driving through our property to get to another part of our property. So they're dominant because they have the right to this, to this easement, right? They're the dominant tenement. They have the right to drive through our property. They can't drive all through our property, drive behind this house and circle back and do all the things for a few reasons. One, property is not that big. Two, they have the right to use the paved part of the road that goes through the middle of our property in order for them to get to their property. So an easement appurtenant automatically goes with the sale of the dominant tenement. So if that property sells to us, it's no longer there. But if they sell that property to somebody else, then the person that buys that property has the right to now use that appurtenant easement that drives through, that goes with the land, right? It goes with their property, and they get the right. Now, the people that buy the house, they have the right to drive through the property just like everybody else to get to their house, but they can't park and barbecue or do any of the other stuff either, unless we're having a barbecue and we ask them to stop and have a barbecue with us. It's our right as the servient tenement on our property to do what we want to do on our property, but we can never hinder the neighbor from getting to their property. There's a few ways you can. And one of them is let's say the neighbor behind us is now working with Elon Musk and they're driving floating vehicles, or hovercrafts or something along those lines where they can hover up to the road next to their property and zoom to work. That kind of thing makes sense. But it's going to take a few years to get there when they stop using it. It takes a period of time. With everything, there is due process. With everything, there's seed time and harvest. Nothing happens automatically. There's no microwave mentality when it comes to contract law. The only time that there's microwave mentality is when we break the law and get caught in the midst of it. And then it's an immediate go to jail, do not pass go, do not collect $200, right? All right. So the example I have below, and I was trying to use an example without drawing when we were in class that one day, and I don't think it was your class. I think it was one of the previous classes. Those 3 capital O's right here. There are 3 round houses. We have 3 domes, if you will, right? Those 3 domes are right next to each other. In order to get to the last home, 2 of those homeowners must drive by said first home. So this appurtenant easement can be either attached, or the dominant tenement can be attached to the servient tenement, or it can be the next guy over, is what I'm saying. So in this situation, we can say, this is my house. This is the house behind us. But let's say they had a house behind them. Both of these houses get to drive through my property because there's an appurtenant easement that goes with those properties. Okay, so easement. So we talked about appurtenant easement, and I hope that helped a little bit because one of the students was asking about it. And then there's an easement in gross. Since an unlocated easement is valid, it is possible to have an easement that is not appurtenant to any particular land. So let's see what the example is that was on, this is on Calabrese book, page 27. Joe, who owns no land, may have an easement over Sam's land for the purpose of getting to a stream where he regularly fishes. But if Sam has a gun and it says no trespassing, Joe might be listening in a different way. The easement for the path to cross the land does not need to specify where the path is actually located. So this is an example. It's not a great example. So that's an example. The next thing would be a commercial camping enterprise may use any easement over private property to take clients to remote sites, which may otherwise be inaccessible. This kind of stuff here with this commercial camping, or like if you've ever gone skydiving, if you've ever done zip lining, a lot of times what will happen is the person that owns the zip line owns part of the property, and they own the part where you start, but then they have an opportunity to go over the property to pick you up at the other end. Another way an easement in gross could be presented. You could also look at an easement in gross like your PG&E, your gas, your Edison, any of those guys that are coming to check your meters. They have the right to be on the property per se. They have the right to come and check the meter, but they don't get the they don't have the right to stop off at the pool and go swimming unless you let them come, unless you offer that. They're not trespassing looking at the meter, but they are trespassing hanging out on your balcony, drinking your favorite liquid out of the refrigerator. That's not the same. So there is an easement in gross with regard to that. I do see some chats. I'm going to come back to the chats in just a moment. Well, actually, let me see. That question was in unit 2. Hold on just a second. In unit 2 review, there's an answer for number 4, the right to use another's land for a special purpose. Is that an easement? The right to use another person's land. Let's look it up.
It says it's easement on the answer key. I was just confused because we hadn't covered that yet in unit 2, but there's a couple other questions too.
Okay. Let's do it. So this was unit 3. The right to use another person's. Okay, so we'll be coming back. Let's hit the other ones. Let's hit the other ones with the ground running, but we will come back to this one, and we will come back to what are the other ones. There's a couple other ones in chat that I want to make sure that we hit. I didn't see the questions in advance, but I have a few. Curious about what roles, responsibilities we can pursue with a broker office. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hit these guys. Let me copy that. I'm going to move this guy down here. And then we're going to duplicate. And we will hit these guys as time will permit. I don't want it to seem like time won't permit, because time will permit. If for whatever reason you need to jump ship, I don't mean to sound like happy about that. if for whatever reason you've got to go, Kokomo Joe, hey, it's okay to go. This will be recorded and uploaded into the YouTubes of it all. Okay. Oh yeah, no, I totally get that. Have a great day. I totally get that. Okay, so we talked about pertinent easements. We've talked about easements and growths. We're going to go further with a couple more questions that people have. Let's hit the ones that have already come forward, because there might be a couple people that need to jump ship, and I totally get that. A contract is terminated if a buyer dies before the offer is accepted. What about after the offer is accepted but before escrow closes? So I thought that was a really interesting question, because it is a good question. So dying does not extinguish the obligation to perform real estate contracts if the deceased is the seller. But if the buyer dies, the seller may not be able to enforce a contract against a buyer's estate. So this would be a situation where you might have to go to court and go, but Your Honor, he said he wanted to buy my house. And like the judge is like, I got bigger fish to fry. Or something along those lines. Many contracts state that the seller's only remedy is to keep the earnest money deposit. And we know if they keep the earnest money deposit, or if they keep any of the money, the monies can't technically exceed 3% of said purchase price. So if the earnest money deposit exceeded 3%, the monies would have to go back to a family member. But the buyer is in breach of contract, but we don't want them to come back from the dead and haunt the seller. So there are going to be some people that feel in some way, shape, or form they don't want to move, they don't want to mess with that mojo. So that's a really good question. That was a question that was sent. Another question that was sent through email was clarify the following terms. And I had a couple people asking about accretion of alluvium and reliction. So we're going to go through each one of those. And we will hit everything. We'll hit the ground running. So accretion is the process of growth or increase, typically by the gradual accumulation of additional layers of matter. So meaning that the land is moving in some way, shape, or form for whatever reason. The accretion of a sediment is in coastal moss mangrove. So you might have a situation where you may not have land that has increased, but you might have a situation where a client is talking to you about that more land is showing up on their property, or their neighbors complaining because their dirt is moving over to their that kind of stuff comes up. Another way of looking at it is I did not mean to do that. A thing formed or added by gradual growth or increase, the coming together and cohesion of matter under the influence of gravitation to form larger bodies. And then we have an example of a statement: the planets could have continued to grow by accretion from solid debris. Now that's more sciencey than anything else, but that's okay. It's a good example. So accretion is talking about the accumulation of land, right? It's talking about sediment coming from somewhere, the expansion, usually associated with, what is that? The Portuguese bend? Huh? Okay, cool. This has to do with the continued process, right, of land moving, or gravitation pulling something from one place to another. Not the rain we've had today, or the weird hail we had yesterday, but the last big kind of storm we had in California. My brother was in town, he left, and he was going up I-5, and on the way, or near I-5, and on the way there was a mudslide, or a landslide, if you will. The gravitation of that pulling the land from where it once was, because of the amount of rain that was coming down so quickly. Alluvium is a deposit of clay, silt, sand, and or gravel left by flowing streams in a river valley or delta, typically producing fertile soil. So this is alluvium would be a situation where you've just got water meandering through an area, right? You've got a river, or you've got a spring or something. It might be bigger during the rainy season when water is moving, and it might be moving faster. And so it's letting you know that there's going to be deposits. There's parts that are pushed out on the ground as it goes by. Not necessarily the same as accretion, because accretion is talking about gravitation. And I guess there is a gravitational pull with alluvium, but alluvium isn't pulling, if you want to go north to south, if you want to talk about how we spin around the earth, alluvium would be pushing it out on either side of where the movement of the water was as the stream goes through with whatever the current. The resulting increase to land by the gradual addition of matter as by the deposit of sand and mud that then belongs to the owner of the land, which it is added to. So I guess you could say in some ways it's a little bit of the same, but I would venture to say alluvium is just like that general process where, well, they're both pretty much general processes. Gravitation from former, I would venture to say gravitation, the accretion, they're close. In the email, it was like, what's the difference? Well, they're kind of close to each other. Let's look at reliction and see if we can figure out what's the difference between all three. Reliction is the term we use to describe the gradual and permanent recession of water that results in dry land, like the opposite, right? Where the spring has sprung its last sprung. There's no more water coming through, or it's not seasonally running. A temporary recession of water, such as during drought years, is not considered reliction. Okay, well, that's good to know. Generally speaking, land uncovered by reliction is owned by the property owner whose land abuts it, meaning is right next to the river. So in these kind of situations, it would just be in ebbs and flows. So what's the difference between all of these? This is talking about accretion, and alluvium are talking about the land moving because water is moving it. And then reliction is talking about the fact that there is additional ground and that the water has recessed for one reason or another. So whether they dam the property or they dam the water in a particular area, or they're having water move, that's where reliction comes in. So instead of your property line hitting the high tide of the water, your property line as it recedes your property line is now the low tide of the water, if you will. That difference of the amount of space between the highest point of the water and the lowest point of the water, and as the water continues to recede for whatever reason. Okay, another general question. What does it mean when it says the seller will carry the loan? On our property specifically, our lender, we didn't get a loan. The person that was selling the home said that she would sell the property to us and she would carry the loan if we came in with a certain amount of money down and helped with closing costs. And that's what we did. So she's carrying the loan like she's the mortgage bank. When the seller of a home carries a loan, it means that the seller of, wow. I thought my Grammarly was bad. This one's not good either. No, I'm just kidding. It means that the seller of the home is willing to be the lender of the monies involved in the sale. And what does that mean? That means we pay our mortgage payment, and it's not a quote unquote mortgage payment. It's a real mortgage payment. We pay it to the person that sold us the house in the same way we would if we sent it off to Bank of America or we sent a payment through an online service. It's the exact same thing. Seller carries is very common in high interest rate environments or commercial or rural areas where financing or demand may be difficult. Demand wasn't difficult. She just gave us an offer we couldn't refuse. And we're like, yeah, if you want to carry it, we're cooking with gas. That's perfect. The seller basically agrees to become the lender to the buyer for the difference between what the buyer can get from a bank and how much down payment they have. Well, that's what this website is sharing with us. But the seller is basically agrees to become the lender of the mortgage lender, if you will, even though it's a private, they're doing it as a private person to the buyer. And the contract we had was we would put a certain amount of money down and we would help with closing costs. And she said, I will offer you a loan at this interest rate for 3 years, and then for the next 3 years, and then we can refinance out of that. So there is an end game. There is an end to this. It's not like we can keep our loan with her forever. She said she was willing to carry it for 3 years, and I'm totally willing for her to carry it for 3 years. She's great. We have a good relationship. Okay, so another person asked me about common law dedication versus statutory dedication. So common law dedication results from ownership intention to donate land for public use along with them accepting that donation. So my grandparents wanted to do the only example I really have of this is my grandparents wanted to give a piece of property to the city for a school to be put on the property. So the common law, they dedicated the property, there's an intention to donate the land for public use. My grandparents went so far as to specify that it should be for a school because there was no school on that side of town. but the city said no thanks. In this situation, a common law dedication is, hey, we would like to donate this for public use. It can't be used to put the governor's house on, or the mayor can't take it for personal use for hunting quail or something like that. It has to be for public use. So public use would be maybe a park or a library or something where the community can come and be social and do things. Statutory dedication, however, the owner of a subdivision or other property like file a plat that results in the grant of public property, such as the streets in a development. So an example is, as part of the subdivision production, the developer gave the streets to the city, which was a statutory dedication. So in this situation, so common law dedications, like you can have that piece of land for a park or for a library. And the statutory dedication is that we're willing for this to be used for a public street. Part of our subdivision is going to be used for a public street. It has to be used for a public street. They can't put a park in the middle of it. It has to be used for a public street. Another question was ratification versus power of attorney. So a ratified contract is a term used with real estate transactions. It refers to the contract in which the terms have been agreed upon by all parties, but have not yet been fully executed, signed, and delivered. So the typical steps, you're like, I still don't understand what that means, Kathy. That's okay. The typical steps in a contract process include the offer. So we have a buyer that would like to put an offer in. Then we've got the seller going, hey, we are going to accept that offer in exchange for some type of monetizement or consideration, right? Such as earnest money in the case of a home purchase. If a mistake is made during the creation of the contract, it may be considered void. In this process, though, that ratification, I just lost my train of thought. So offer, acceptance, consideration, and ratification. No, I still don't have it. Let's start over again. So the typical, we'll just start over again until the brain starts kicking back in. We've only been doing this since what, 8:30 this morning. The typical steps in a contract process include the offer, acceptance, consideration, and ratification. So it's through the whole entire process. We've got the contract, we have the offer, we have the acceptance, we have the proof, the consideration, and then we have a ratification. It's done. In the consideration stage, sometimes the value is exchanged, such as in earnest money. Okay, so we already said that. If there's a mistake made during any point of this contract, of course, not only can the contract be considered void, but it could be voidable if there's any type of duress or coercion. So ratification is the completeness of it, whereas power of attorney. So thought it was really interesting that I had somebody ask me ratification versus power of attorney. A power of attorney in California is somebody that has the right to sign for their client. So let's see what this version says. The California Real Estate Power of Attorney form is a legal document that gives a person the legal authority to make decisions on a property and real estate on the behalf of another. But it could be specific to one piece of property. It doesn't, it isn't necessarily set as all of a person's properties. It's not a power of attorney can be specific to one property or can be all of their properties. It doesn't have to be just one. I mean, it can be a lot more specific. And you're like, I thought power of attorney was about medical. Well, power of attorney can be about a lot of things, but specifically in real estate, for the Department of Real Estate, that's what this particular thing is. Yes, I see a chat. Hold on, just gonna. An executory is or like execution of a sale. So if something's been executed, it's been signed. A ratification would be completed. It's been ratified. I don't necessarily think those two are that much different. Let's look that up. Let's look up the difference between the two. We'll do that at the end of, I'm going to put that as the last slide. That's a good question. I was wondering why it was a power of attorney versus, we'll put it in there as one of the next questions to ask. Okay, we'll be back. Let's go back up here. Power of attorney. Does a broker get paid? Oh man, this was such a good question and I did not have the answer and I still don't have it, but I love the question. So I'm going to ask you guys to help me with this one. Does a broker get paid to be the escrow or the neutral third party? Because that was the hitting our heads against the wall conversation today during one of the points in class, right? So a neutral third party can be a broker. And so I went in and I was researching information in the books and I didn't necessarily find what I wanted to find. And I have a couple emails out to some other professionals in the industry to give me their view on it. And I wrote the cost of doing business. The costs of doing business have not been clarified, meaning in the book, the cost of doing business hasn't said a broker can do this but not get paid, which causes me to believe that the broker, man, I'm really good at spelling. I'm so good. I'm just so good. Will be paid for being the capacity of the escrow handler or the escrow holder. I'm going to holder. Look, handler sounds like they are the manager of a wrestling company. But are there 4 unities of joint tenancy? Question on unit number 2. Okay, well, we'll definitely have to check that one out. Let's put it in. We'll put it on the list. We're going to put it on the list. Duplicate slide. Okay. The answer is B. Okay, we'll come back to it. So I believe a broker can get paid to be the neutral third party or the escrow officer, because there are things required of the person that's in the position of the neutral third party to get done, and that is to follow the escrow instructions. But there is also, so anyway, I believe that they can get paid. If you guys prove me wrong, so let me put that on there. Prove me wrong. Is it just me or is my spell check not working? You guys can help me out with that one, because I did not, until I get a second opinion or a third opinion on this one. I think it sounds crazy for a broker to be the neutral third party, especially if they are already part of the contract, either the buyer's agent bringing in the buyer, the selling agent, buyer's agent, same thing, bringing in the buyer, or being the listing agent. I think it's an unsafe position to be in. And this is something you could ask a broker. How do you guys feel about brokers being the neutral third party, and see what your broker has to say? Test question is, how well do you know how well do you on unit tests and Quizlets test any indication so how well you do on the unit tests and Quizlets tests, any indication of how well you will do. So I think it is in your best interest to get at least an 80% passing rate on any of the unit reviews at the end of your books. If you have a student platform that gives you the opportunity to, all of you guys have it though, quizzes on your student platform or on your account platform, there are quizzes in there too. If you would like to have those supplementally, make sure that you take those and then note the ones you got wrong, and then find them in the book and reread those little sections. Be reading the stuff that you don't know immediately the answer to. And if you're like, Kathy, that's 90% of it, I'm sorry, get the ball running, move forward, make an appointment with me, and let's talk about another way or another avenue. I spent a good 20 minutes or so, I don't remember actually how much time, after one of the classes today, talking with a few people. And one of the things we were talking about is what's the quickest way to get to the end game. And I would venture to say there's 754 vocabulary words on the Department of Real Estate website. And I would encourage you to take one vocabulary page a day or a week and review it, and then add to that. Because if there are 150 questions on the state exam, and 754 of the words that are associated with the Department of Real Estate website, at any point there could be 1, 2, 3 of those vocabulary words in the questions, you're going to be in a good place knowing the language and how the terminology is written. Contractual law is written in a particular way. I don't write straightforward, and they don't write straightforward, but their straightforward is backwards in regards to how I do things. But that's how contractual law works. The way the terms are used and stuff is a lot different. It was 40 minutes. That's funny. I got somebody who was timing it. Okay, well, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and tomato, potato. It's okay. If you guys want to meet with me and visit and talk through some of this stuff, that's what these classes are all about. That's what these live sessions are about. And that's what the end of class is about. Push comes to shove. You've got my email. You got my phone number. Send me a text. Don't call right now because hello, we're in class. But let's just meet so we can talk over things. 40 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I could travel in time. I'm not good with time, obviously, which keeps us on the move. Let's see, how are we doing on time? It is 7:20. Holy cats manoli. Okay, let's get this done. The right to use another's land for a specified purpose. Is that an easement? Let's look this up. Would also like to understand adverse possession. Oh my gosh, adverse possession's fun. I like that idea. Okay, we'll talk about it. Adverse possession's dangerous. I shouldn't say it's fun. All right, let's do this. Okay, let's get back up here. So test question, okay. The right to use another's land for a specified purpose. Well, let's Google that line, that exact sentence, and see what comes up. An easement is a limited right to another person's land. That's really good. I like that. So I would venture to say you are correct.
So this was a question from like before we had learned what easement was. So it was, I don't know why they do that. They have like vocab that we haven't learned yet.
Probably just to get you guys familiar with getting used to the terminology or getting used to the, I don't really have an answer for it other than the books are written by people that are not in the industry. The books are written by writers. And so not that that's a good excuse, but that's depending upon the book you have. So if you have, well, they're first and foremost, they're written by people that write or people that build curriculum, and they're not necessarily written by people that are in the industry. So they're going to hyper focus on one thing, or they're going to go, oh, look, I wrote it different than I found it. But the reality is contractual law should just stay contractual law and use the reference in the back. Say you got it on the Department of Real Estate website, or say you got it from a California law office with regards to the term. We've been talking about writing an economic book for real estate because there doesn't need to be a lot of, there's no floral in the law. I don't know if you, unless you guys are watching the Murdoch case, they've got crazy stuff going down on that one, but most legal stuff, most contractual law is very much like if you're in a car accident and the police officer, the peace officers get there and they say, can you tell me what happened? And you're like, oh my gosh. Okay. So this morning I got up, I had coffee. They're like, the facts, ma'am, what happened in the accident? They don't want the floral. They want what happened. They want this, all I remember is I was at the light and the next thing you know, I was in the intersection. They want they want the meat of the matter. And that's really how these books need to be written because it causes way too many questions. So I do apologize for that. But an easement is a limited right to use another person's land for a stated purpose. For a stated purpose. Let's see what the example is, and then we will get the address for you. Because that's another thing about these books is because they don't have, we're trying to get you to learn this language in 4 to 5 weeks. And then technically, so 4 and 3 is 12 in 12 weeks, and then go take a state exam. But you have principles and practice, right, as your 2 required classes by the Department of Real Estate. And then you have 12 or 13, I think it's 13, but it might be 12. I think we figured out that it was 12 options to take as your additional course with the Department of Real Estate. It gives you a slew of them. Most of you are taking legal aspects with me. And the reason you're taking legal aspects is it's the legal aspects across all 13, 12 or 13 areas of expertise, and it's just touching lightly on it. These classes are foundational. So they are helping you build a comprehension or an understanding to move forward and get more focused. And where would the focus be? Well, once you take the contractual law exam, which is like the baby bar, then you go into the field of expertise. The majority of you, well, technically in the Department of Real Estate, only half of you are going to become residential real estate agents. The other half are going to become commercial. And then whatever percentages are not included in 50 and 50 are going to be the people that work for the state, or you work for Amtrak, or you work for PG&E, and you help them with their acquisitions, or you help them liquidate their acquisitions. The same thing with the government. So once you know the area you want to go into, you might go into escrow, you might go into title, you might go into property management, and then your hyper focus on your specials. You're already a specialist as a licensed agent, but then you hone your skills in that part of the field. My experience has been in lending, so I can talk to you guys all day, every day about how the lending part of it works. But then when you ask me questions pertaining to particular vocabulary that wasn't in our everyday, I'll go to the book, or I'll go find something online, because I want to make sure that we are all on that same page. Let me make sure we get the address for this particular Tis Tasty Treat and put this one in. And we will, and I do apologize that my Twitch account is twitching, but it is what it is. That is the one that's actually recording it as my backup, just in case there's a problem with this one. So hopefully we do not have a problem. And if we do, then it's just going to be doing this crazy, like, screen within a screen within a screen within a screen. So an easement may also be used to lay railroad tracks or electric wires, or an easement can be used for them to come and check the meters, like I was saying before, right? And so on and so forth. Okay. Do you need the address for where I found that information? Yeah, why not? It's in the drive, but I'll give you the link to the drive again at the end of class. Okay. So curious about what roles, responsibilities we can pursue with a broker office now as we complete our RE license education and become licensed. Okay, that's a really good question. I would say contact a broker, or the one that you want to work with, or somebody you want to talk to, and let them know that you are in the midst of your Pre-Reqs, and see if you can, may I shadow a seasoned agent and or come in and ask questions about becoming or not row, Kathy, or training to be an agent or something like that. Most brokers are going to say no. Most brokers are going to say, they're going to say, I'm serious. They're going to say, call me when you've passed your state exam.
Right.
But why are they saying that? Because everybody and their brother is like, oh, I like your car. I like your watch. I like your hours, because they're out golfing or whatever. It's like, what do you do? I'm a real estate broker. Oh man, I want to be a real estate broker. Can I come work for you? Talk to me when you get your license. Because they usually have that 90% of the time they're being hounded by somebody.
Sure.
It's the 10% that doesn't. So if you use words like, hey, I'm in the middle of doing my prerequisites or my Pre-Reqs to take my state exam, and I have some questions, and I'd like to know more about the industry. Or you can say, I'm taking classes with this crazy lady, and she asked us, throw me under the bus. I got wide shoulders. Not that that's going to help me save myself from the bus, but you could say that I asked you to contact a local broker to interview them with regard to what their expectations are for their agents, and let them know it's an assignment that you need to do. And you can,
that's a good one.
And you can even go so far as to say, she was talking to us about how bias training is going to be required in 2024. And so what do you think about the new bias training? Like, you can ask them questions about that, or what are your concerns about? So let's do this. You can ask about, come on, Cass. You would think, I've only been typing most of my life. Ask them about bias training or redactions on CC and R's, something like that. Because once you start talking shop, brokers are like, oh my gosh, you know what you're talking about? If I only had an agent that understood, and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to open this can. Okay, I'm here for the long haul. Give me a cup of coffee. So tips on interviewing a broker and are big firms better?
There's quite a bit online about tips on interviewing a broker. I just Googled it, and like EXP has actually a really good list. But like when we're just starting out, you know, are big firms better because they're, I don't know, more entrenched, maybe have better support? I don't know.
Well, I will definitely tell you that I would have you go to a bigger brokerage, only because they usually have really good training. But I would also tell you, don't go to a bigger broker because they charge you for training. But
Okay.
I would say the training is worth the 50% commission split, because that's what your commission split's going to be right out the gate. But with people like, and I don't mean to throw anyone under the bus, but with companies like Keller Williams, I know that if an agent brings you in, that agent gets a minuscule amount of monies that come from any of the sales that you do. So there is this like pyramid-esque thing that goes on there. And I don't want to use the word that comes after pyramid. I just want to say that there is a version of the things that happen. So my thing is hit the ground running, go into a bigger office, negotiate what the split, try to get it above 50. If you get it at 50 and you get the training, and then you start realizing you're working smarter and not harder, and you're maintaining your 2 sales a month, or you're maintaining your 8 sales a year, or whatever it is. And then your brokers putting pressure on you. You're like, bro, I already got the training down. Like, you guys aren't meeting, you're not exceeding my expectations anymore. I'm exceeding yours. I've got to find a broker that can help push me to that next step. And it might be in 2 years that you find that you need to open your own broker's office, because you've been doing it full time, and you can go do your prereqs for your broker's exam, and then open your own broker's office. And then you have your own hours, and then you do the things and train the people in the area that you would like to see and hear and be trained in. So the training is beneficial. And is it worth the commission split? It's worth a commission split. But yeah, no, I think I would do that. And the worst thing you can do is walk and go interview someone else and go somewhere else. The companies have a swinging door policy for a reason. Somebody else might have a better commission split, but they might not have any training, and you're sitting there wishing that you had stayed at the place that had the lower commission split, but has the top training for the area that you're in. And what I mean by that is the niche market. If you're in Beverly Hills, they know how to market to the people in that neighborhood. If you're in San Diego, because the way you're going to market in Beverly Hills is not the way you're going to market in San Diego, in the same respect that, like, I walk the dog in my golfing jacket. My golfing jacket's going to get me nowhere at I don't golf. I just have a jacket that says Pebble Beach on it. Let's be honest, guys. I'm not even a miniature golfer or a medium golfer. I'm a not golfer. But that jacket means something when I'm at Pebble Beach, but that jacket doesn't mean squat if I'm, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I walk in there like, oh, she's wearing a jacket. No, it's more like oh, hey, I've been there, kind of like, you're in an area where people are going to recognize. So in Beverly Hills, your Armani suit might be recognized. Your Tiffany necklace is going to be recognized. I mean, there's probably, I'm just like throwing stuff out there. We'll talk more about the second.
Like questions you want to ask in an interview too, I can send over.
Yeah, put it in the chat and we'll pop
awesome.
it in. Oh yeah, or that. However you guys
want. Email, but I can figure out a way to share it with you guys. But it was really helpful when I was interviewing with brokers.
Nice.
Cool.
Calibri's hosting a meet and greet.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah.
Brokers. But Chantel brought up a really good point, is that if they're not in your area, there were only 3 areas that they were from. And if you don't suppose you're going to work in those 3 areas, would it still be worth going in and listening to what they have to say? Or
it wouldn't hurt to go and hear what they have to say. But something I would do is I would contact a broker, a brokerage that's in your neighborhood within a half mile or 2 or 5 mile radius. Maybe 5 miles is more appropriate. Contact that brokerage and say, hey, I'm doing my prerequisites. I want to hit the ground running when I take my state exam. Can I come in to one of your morning meetings with your local association and just get a feel for what the neighborhood's going to be like as an agent, and see if a broker will let you come in, because they will let visitors come in if you are going in with a licensed agent.
Gotcha.
And that I think would be very beneficial for the area that you, because there's nothing wrong. Calibre's doing some awesome stuff, having those open events, but the last one I saw was San Diego, and I'm like, man, if we have class till 3:30 and that thing starts at 5 and it's a minimum of 2 hours on a good day, what's an hour and 50 minutes on a good day? By the time I get there, the thing will be over. So that's not going to benefit me, even if brokers come from all over California. But I would venture to say they're not. I would venture to say it's San Diego brokers or LA or whatever.
I thought the one that came to me said it was virtual, but I'm not sure.
Oh, well, if there's virtual ones, I thought you meant the ones where you literally are driving down to San Diego.
No,
I should probably open my email this week.
But it's as Sonia said, the geographies are 2 hours away from me. So they're not in an area I would be potentially selling, but is the content interesting?
I think it'd be a good idea. I think it'd be a good idea to feel it out. And then even in the Zoom meeting, you could say something like, hey, I'm here. Is there anybody affiliated that's in my neck of the woods? So, and then you're going to get an immediate. Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Hey, that's what this class is for. Do we need to, okay, hold on. Calibri is hosting on March 1st. I think they'll address those kinds of questions. Awesome. I saw that too, but it's only for 3 air. Okay. So I'm reading the messages now. Is it easy to get a job in real estate as a real estate agent under a broker? It's pretty easy. We just need to find you a broker that'll benefit your hours, your niche market, and your time. If your clientele are empty nesters, you have to find a broker that understands that your clients are going to be at a particular pace. If your clients are, and I'm not trying to be ageist when I say this, I'm trying to use examples of niche markets. If your clients are in their early 20s and they want condos, your broker needs to understand that we're kind of moving at a different pace. And so we need to figure out what your niche market is in order to figure out the right kind of broker for you. Keller Williams is a good company that helps with training, but Keller Williams might be pushing you really hard to close deals. I don't know. I've never worked for them, so I do apologize. So for those of you that work for them, I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. But if they're saying, hey, you've got to close a minimum of two deals a month, or you've got to close a minimum of 4 deals a month, and you're like, this is my side hustle, this isn't my full-time job, that might not be, you have to be honest. You don't have to be, you should be honest when you interview a broker and say, hey, until I can do this full-time, I'm only going to be doing this part-time. And so because I'm only going to be doing this part-time, what are your expectations of me as a part-timer? And let the broker say, oh, I don't think we're going to be a good fit. There was an amazing broker out of the Silicon Valley that I wanted to hang my license with, and I wanted to work with him. And one of the things he said to me is, Kathy, you've got way too many other things going on, and you would have to close at least 2 deals a month in order for this to work for both of us. And I thought that was at first I was my feelings were kind of hurt, but in that same respect, I was like, no, that makes a lot of sense. The commission split was like 90%. And there was training, but he paid it, but he wanted you to be the one doing the hustle. And he had people at the office that were making sure all the documents and paperwork were done. But as an agent, I had to be the one that hustled. I had to make sure that I was doing a minimum of 2 sales a month. And if I didn't do 2 sales a month, I was at risk of having my license dropped from his office. Like, he was a real hardcore. I don't know. I don't think he's around anymore. I think he's either retired or no longer on the earth, but I thought that was a really fascinating way to look at things. It was like, I would love to have you as an agent, but you're going to have to meet this minimum expectation. And the people in his office, they hustled, but he paid them well. And there was a lot of really strong training, but he also was willing to have that swinging door work to his benefit and not the opposite, which most brokers are struggling with, the opposite, where they're like, they're negotiating your commission and they're really struggling to get you to close the deals. So there's anyway, there's a few things out there. Let me just make sure I stay on top of the chats. Hold on just a second.
Can I ask a question too about like joining a team versus like a mentor? Is that kind of the same thing? Or
a team would be team commission, I believe, but they can't use the word commission. A team would be a situation where everyone gets a piece of the pie per se. You have to figure out from that broker what they mean by that team. Because as an example, when the person that sold me the property was him and like 4 people that worked with him. So you had the person that did the contract, you had the person that was staying on top of the dates. There were a few different things that they did. And we'll talk more about that in book 2 about the different transaction specialists and all this other stuff. But one of the people that I really just thoroughly enjoyed working with, because she would always get back to me and I was able to get the information to her, because she's like, who else are we working with? I'm like, just the voices in my head and me. And she started laughing. But the reality of the situation is they were a team, and he did the hustle. The agent went and got the deal, got the listing, and started getting it moving. And then he would pass it off to the different people that were the different specialists at his office. But not everybody that does that job is a licensed agent. So and that is a Keller Williams thing. So it's not a bad idea, but ask them to break it down cost wise for you. I think it is a great idea to get the understanding and the training under your belt 1000%. But when I was in my 20s, I didn't want to hear that. In my 40s, I'm like, ugh, I want someone to teach me how to do this, because I do not want to be like hitting my head against the wall trying to figure it out on my own. I'd rather like be able to move forward on it.
There's also some brokers that have really low, like they don't take a lot for commission. You just pay like a flat fee and then you get to keep majority of your commission.
Yeah. So one of the agents that I wanted to come in, I haven't been able to hear back from yet. He worked for a company like that, and I think he paid like a base of $600 flat fee for every deal that he brought in the door. But the broker did no training and did no marketing or anything. You were 1000% on your own. But he loved the idea that he could sell a house for $90,000 or sell a house for $850,000, and that only $600 or something like that was coming out of each one of his sales. And that broker very much so was like, I'm cool with this as long as as long as you disclose all the things you needed to. It was very strict in, these are the disclosures for listing a house, these are the disclosures for bringing in a buyer, and there is no gray area. You have to get all of this stuff signed. And so, but that was it. That's all that I mean, that was it. That's really all. But there are brokers out there that don't train though. That's why the split is what it is, or
What's the typical split too? Is it like 70-30 or is it really 50-50?
Brand spanking new agents 50-50, but you should be able to talk up your negotiation power. The only way that you really are able to do that is if you walk in with clients immediately. You're like, I've got 4 clients that want to buy houses right now. Mm-hmm. And I estimate that I'm going to be closing 24 to 40 deals a year, or whatever the situation. I'm on the other side of things where I would negotiate. I'm cool with 50% for 2 a month, but if I exceed 2 a month, I'd like to jump to 70. So if I can do 3 a month, and I know in the back of my heart and mind that I've got 4 a month, I can do at least for the first 6 months to get, or whatever, to get myself in a position where the broker's like, okay, show me, Kathy, show me that you can do it. So walking in and establishing that rapport, and then knocking it out of the park if possible. But I'm old. I'm not going to do that now. I've had people say, just sell, Kathy, you're so much fun. I'm not that much fun. Getting
leads to as a new agent, because I know that's the hardest part.
Leads, I wouldn't trust. Well, okay, so a lead, how do you contact the people that you get the lead on? How would you contact them? I mean, seriously,
I'm just saying, like, how are you going to find, like, besides doing open houses and maybe like sitting at the office and trying to find potential buyers?
Friends and family is the first step. Friends and family, people on social media, and you're going to get more. And we'll get back to that. You guys, we're going to break from this for just a moment. Friends and family is your niche market. So what's my niche market? My crazy friends are my niche market. My friends just want to go look at houses. And I'm like, I do not have enough time for this, but it would be fun. Every once in a while, it's kind of fun. But the reality of the situation is, who are the people your age or near your age that want to hear about what it is you're doing? And 9 times out of 10, people that are in their early 20s or right into their 20s are being told, you're too young, don't worry about that right now. So if that's what you're hearing, whatever you're hearing, your niche market is the people that are around you, I would venture to say. The next step is grandma, Mima, Papa, and aunt and uncle and everybody else saying, hey, I'm getting into real estate. Does anybody need me to sell their house? I'm more than willing. And get them to talk to you about their worst experiences, but don't ask them their worst experience in real estate. Ask them, tell me the best experience you ever had in real estate. Most of the time people are, I can tell you the worst one. And you're like, okay, cool. So after they share their experience with you, how would you want to be treated today if you could? And find out from them how they'd want to be treated. And what will happen is you're going to find out they talk to their friend or their cousin, uncle, sister, brother, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had this conversation. And I thought it was so cool that they were asking, they're getting in the industry, they want to be great at this. And then their friend or whoever it is they're talking to are like, I need somebody. And it's really that conversation between all of you that will bring about your leads. The problem is, if I were to call you right now on my phone and I have it as an unknown caller or a number, and you don't have my whatever this number is in front of me on your phone, are you going to pick up the call? And it's like, probably not. Most people don't pick up. So cold calling is tough to do. It's really the pounding of the pavement. It's really the knocking, going old school and knocking on doors, sending thank you cards to your grandmother's neighborhood. Like, hey, I just want to thank you for being my grandmother's friend and being a wonderful neighbor. And oh, by the way, I'm one of her favorite granddaughters, and I'd love to help you with any real estate needs you may have. And start marketing the neighborhood around your grandparents, or start marketing the neighborhood around. And I mean, literally go on Google Maps, write down all the email addresses, or you can contact a title, and for a fee, and I don't know what it costs anymore, they will give you all the addresses for all the properties within a 1/4 mile radius or a 1/2 mile radius from your house of people that have not sold in the last 10 years or 5 years or whatever, because those people might be ready to sell their house, or they might be empty nesters looking to downsize. So there are ways of doing it. Now, Keller Williams is a good training company, and they might have a list of people that have reached out to them only because of the logo of the school itself, right? So that being said, that it's not a bad idea to have that conversation. And I can see people jumping ship, and I apologize. I know it's 7:45. We can really deep dive quick and lose an hour. Obviously, Kathy can lose a lot of hours, but be encouraged. Think about who it is you want to work with. If you want to work with like-minded individuals as such as yourself and your age, start thinking about, what do people my age do? Where do they hang out? Where do they want to live? Most everybody, I would venture to say, Chantel, you have a very young face. And I would say that you are the age of my best friend's daughters. And I guarantee if I called any of them right now, they would be like, Kathy, if you could help me buy a house at the beach. Okay, so if that's the area, if that's something that they want to do or their friends want to do, I would market whatever my friends told me. And if my friends were your age, those are my friends, but they're also like technically my kids, if you will. That's what they would share with me. Ask people to share with you, where would you live? Where if you could live anywhere, where would you live and why? And if they shall, I don't want to live, I live anywhere else. I want to live where I am here. Oh, okay, cool. Do you have anybody that wants to be your neighbor? Or do you know of anybody, or do you know of any of your neighbors that need help selling their homes? Just get the idea out there, in, if you want to call it the universe, or out to your frenemies, your friends, your relatives. Let them know you're in the industry, or you're about to get into the industry, and you want to ask them some questions about their process or their experience with the real estate. And you'll find that stuff will start moving towards you. And who you're comfortable with, you're going to find out over time as well. Who you're comfortable with working with. I love working with moms. And my thing about moms is we are 0 to 60 from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. per 2 or 3 shots of espresso, and then winding down about 8 o'clock. And sometimes there's an evening nap after dinner, and then they swing back up about 9:30. But they really don't want you to talk to them. There's periods of time moms don't want you to talk to them because they have to take care of family, or they have to and there's dads out there too. I'm not saying that, but there's an understanding if your kid gets hurt, or if you're at the vet with the dog, or you're picking someone up, or you got to go to ER because somebody got food poisoning. They understand, because it's a life that they're living. But people that don't have kids, people that don't have fur babies, people that have never done anything other than live alone, and there's nothing wrong with living alone. I'm just saying that they are a niche market unto themselves, because they're like, I got up at 4 and went to yoga, and then I did this and I did that. And you're like, yeah, but I I had like 5 people pulling my hair out with me today, and like moms, I can understand. I have like a more rapport with them. Now, if you're a yoga person at 4, God bless you, that's amazing. And if that's your niche market, that's awesome, because if you're like-minded like that person, you can totally get it. We just need to find the person or people, because there's a tribe out there that think like you and want to live their best life too, and they want you to kind of know what they're thinking when they're not talking. And that's your niche market. That's the group of people that that would be, so we just have to figure out who that is for you. And you might have to try different areas and different groups of people. It might be a religious organization. I know people that have gotten into the industry and just basically went to temple or went to church, went to a religious organization on the weekend. They're like, hey guys, I think I'm going to go into real estate. Oh my gosh, I know someone who knows someone. You need to talk to them. They need they need someone honest like you. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize that I was going to get that kind of response. And people have sold houses just on the fact that they're part of a religious organization or a nonprofit, or they're a member at a gym, or so. The door is really open. We just have to kind of figure out, just kind of give out a little bit of the feels, it's like opening your window and then putting a little bit of garlic and a little onion and sauteing that. And your neighbor's like, I don't know what you're cooking, but it smells fabulous. And you're like, it's just garlic and onion. Like, get the feels out there so that they can, I don't know if smell what the rock is cooking is the right way of putting it, but so that they can understand that this is the direction that you're wanting to go. And you could literally on social media, for those of you that are TikTokers, even though that might not be your thing, or you're on Insta, or you're on the Facebooks and the LinkedIns of it all, you could literally post, holy crap, maybe not holy crap, I seriously just did 8:30 to 8:30 in real estate pre-req. We did the pre-reqs this morning, and then we did like a casual Q&A this afternoon. I'm exhausted. Has anyone else? But I'm happy. I've had an amazing experience with this process. Have you always had positive experience in real estate? Let me know. And then you're going to be swamped with people saying all kinds of, depending upon what social media you're on, or like they're going to be like, never have I ever heard anyone happy about real estate, or something along those lines. And let your social media do the walking for you. Now, are you saying I'm selling houses or I'm listing houses? No, because you're not licensed yet, but you're saying I'm getting into it. I'm doing my prerequisites. You can use those kind of words. What should I know more? Is there a class I should take? And you're going to get 5,000 people saying, buy this. I'm going to try to tell you not to buy anything. Find out what works for you. Let your mama know that and I don't know if you guys have mamas. I got a mama, that's my grandma, and I got a mama, that's my aunt. But let them know what you're getting into and what you're wanting to do, and see what they not only have to say, but maybe they know someone that knows someone. And the ball will get rolling. And I know there's a bunch of other questions, and I'll put a PowerPoint together and we'll hit the ground running again, because there is stuff that's missing, and I'll keep going. But guys, I'm still here. I'm seeing that it's 7:50. I'm going to keep building the PowerPoint. If you've got to jump ship, I totally get it. We will have this recorded and uploaded to the YouTubes of it all, and the Twitches and all the things. But please, if you have to go at any point in time, it's not a deficit to you. It's a deficit that we're going to lose you. But this time does go by quickly. And I can chat. God, save the queen. Well, the king now, right? Okay, let me get back into it. Let's get the PowerPoint. Let me make sure I'm reading through this. Is it easy to get a job? It's easy to get a job 45 minutes later. Yes, we just have to figure out the best place, the best broker for you, right? You're interviewing them. Yes, you are interviewing the broker. The broker's interviewing you, but you're also going, I don't know if I want to be in a situation with this person when the proverbial when the crap hits the fan. Is this a person that I need to go into the trenches with? Is this broker going to be happy that we're going through this together? Because sometimes stuff goes south. And if it does, is this person going to keep their head on, or are they going to lose their mind? And then when it's all said and done, are they going to just apologize or say that's what you get? And you're like, well, I don't want to be, I didn't know you're going to be a principal and not a broker, that kind of, and what I mean, principal, like principal of a school. Where y'all finding this information about the meeting with the brokers? Oh, that's a good question. So if you are, you go check your email from Calibri, and ask if it's in there. There's also like social media sites and things. So for those of you that aren't in the day lectures with me and you're doing independent study, you didn't get that email. So if some of you are like, I didn't get that email. Yeah, no, it's not all the students. It's up to you what brokerage you want. It's definitely up to you. Oh, sorry, that was a conversation you guys were having. I apologize. Are you doing a virtual Zoom meeting for brokers? I'm not. Can you email me information on title and Okay. So there's info calibrate. Oh, cool. Okay, let's open it up. Career Expo. Okay, let's share.
That's the info for the brokerage, but it's only for Sacramento, Irvine, and Oakland.
Yeah, that's
And
the one I got.
And the thing is, okay, so I haven't seen this one, so I do apologize for not opening my email for like a week. That's why I do everything through Google. I apologize. I don't really apologize. You guys are here, so obviously you got the email, but I mean the other email. But usually these virtual are not usually. I've seen these virtual expos in San Diego and Los Angeles, so it could be just something that they're. Well, it says Irvine, but it could be just where they're hitting every other place. But I've mostly seen stuff in San Diego, so it's kind of cool. Not kind of. It's very cool to see Sacramento, Irvine, and Oakland. And that is in the chat. So I appreciate you putting it in there. So that's March 1st. If it's a Zoom, do it and then come back and tell us what you guys think. If it was informative, if it wasn't informative. But one thing I will, and I'm going to go back to, is go on social media and look up realtor, city and state that you live in, obviously California, but the city that you live in, and see what the first broker is that comes up, and then send them a message by email or send them a message through social media like LinkedIn or something else. And again, use terms, prerequisites. I'm taking my prerequisites for X, Y, and Z. Can I talk to you? I have an assignment with my instructor that's asking me to talk to brokers about the bias training or something to get your foot in the door. And then ask them questions in your area. Is there a local association? Can I go with you to a meeting so that I can talk to, so that I can kind of feel what it's like to be a part of the local association? I just want to get my feet wet. I'd like to learn. I'd like to shadow an agent. I just don't want you to think I'm wasting your time. You're investing in me. I want to invest back in your business. You know, so you're building a rapport. You're having this conversation with this broker, but you're under the guise of saying it's an assignment. And Kathy's a crazy instructor requiring this. I don't know. Just throw me. I'm okay with throwing me under the bus. But that kind of stuff might help you get the answers that you're looking for. It probably will help you get those answers. Let me open back up our drive. Where are you? There you are. Let's keep going with the questions. Yeah, Chantel, thank you so much. I do appreciate each and every one of you. No, seriously, I love it. I love it because you guys are on target. I'm reading it like I'm in the conversation, like, oh, we're doing this and we're doing that. Nope, wasn't for me.
It might be helpful. Just they might have like people from like the big companies too, and they might be able to guide you and connect you with the right people in your area. So I might sign up for it. But then they also might bombard us and harass us to join their brokerage.
They might, but if that's how they do things and that's not your cup of tea, then you definitely immediately know before even talking to them or interviewing them as a broker that that's not the broker that you'd want to work with. So it doesn't hurt,
if you put your info in the thing. I've gone through this before, so I'm a little reluctant.
Yeah, no, see, I'm so green. I know nothing about this, so I just feel like I want to be a fly on the wall and hear what's going on. Because I would go then.
Well, and you can also say something like, hey guys, I don't want my email address to be spammed. And I don't want to get 100,000 phone calls because I'm still in my prereqs. So don't call, give me your phone number and your contact information. And if I need to, I will reach out to you. And it might hurt and offend some of them, but they might need to dial it back. And right now, because we're in a bear market and not a bull market, you might also find that they're like, but we need you to bring in more money to our office. You're like, wow, sounds like you guys might be having a bad day. I just really don't want you to have my phone number now. I really don't, or whatever. So like test the waters. I appreciate what you're saying, Chantel, because the truth is the truth and they might be a little overpowering. I've met a lot of agents that are overpowering and that's just not my cup of tea. Let's look up ratification versus executory. So we have that. We've got unit 2. We've got the words title, time, title, interest, and possession are most closely related to survivorship. Interesting. Okay. I don't know why that is. And then we have adverse possession. Okay. Those are the last 3-ish. We may have more, but please, if you can stay a little bit longer, stay. If you can't, I totally get it. Because you know that I can deep dive into madness. So let's get back on it and we'll do ratification versus executory. Let me open my
and it may be executive that or executed. that I'm thinking of, but it sounds like to me ratification sounds an awful lot.
Oh, yeah,
like
like executing a
executed.
document. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because executory, I think, is the position that the person has if somebody's died with a will and they become the executor or executrix. Nope, that's different too.
Well, it sounds like executory is when it's in the process. People have signed it, it's not quite finished, but executed sounds like it's completed. And it sounds like
Oh.
the definition that you gave before for ratification is that it's also completed. So I don't know.
Oh, I like that, executory. Okay. I like it. I like it. Hold on just a second. Oh, that's good. She's Chantel's asking what page it's on, and I've got the PDF open. I'm like, we'll do ratification. There's only 10 versions of ratification on the book because I did the Control F.
Oh,
Control
that's
F.
smart to pull up the PDF and do it that way. Because in the index, it doesn't tell you where the vocab is.
Oh yeah, no. Hey, you've got, there's a method to my madness. Control F has saved me through through all of my classes. Agency by ratification. Ratification means acceptance of an act already performed. That's not what is said in the book, so I might have just made things worse. Hold on a second. Ratification of an agency relationship is created by approving acts after they have been done. So ratification that's not what I put up here. So let's change it out. Hold on a second. Let's look up ratification another way, because that's agency by ratification. Not that it does matter, but let's make sure, because you sorry. Ratification. Summary. A real estate agency can be created by express agreement, ratification, or estoppel. So this is not the definitions that I found earlier. So I do apologize. Means acceptance of an act already performed. So I can understand where power of attorney would be the reason for that request. Ratification of an agency relationship is created by approving acts after they are done. For example, a seller can accept an offer presented by a licensee and an agreement to pay in a commission. Oh, like with regard to before, like showing a property before the property is listed. And getting someone showing that if you call someone and go, hey, somebody'd like to buy your house, or they're thinking about buying in the area, and they're like, sure, no problem. Or the Bruce Willis conversation where Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, when they were getting divorced, he went to the neighbor and he bought the property next door, or the unit next door from hers, right? And there were no real estate agents involved, but then they're like, my people will call your people. So that would be agency by ratification, because the acceptance of the act already performed. Ratification of an agency relationship is created by approving acts after they are done. For example, a seller can accept an offer presented by a licensee and agree to pay a commission, even though no agency has been approved. The seller is creating an agency by ratification by accepting the actions and of the agent after the fact. So I can understand now why somebody was asking what's the difference between that and power of attorney. Wow. Okay. So let me, and I pulled up, and this is part of the reason why I failed you guys. This is part of the reason why it's important to make sure that when I find information in like online, that it is associated with real estate and it's not just associated with a term, because it causes more damage than it does good. And that is my fault. And this is on page, I want to make sure you guys know what page this is on. This is on page 55. So we're going to look at all of them in the book. So that's so executory is the next. Okay, how many? There's 11. No, let's go back. The moment you see, this is another thing with, I don't know if you do the Control F, but the moment you see the questions and that one of the answers could be executory, go arrow the opposite direction, because there should be additional. Oh no, I guess there isn't. I was wrong. Oh, executory and executory and executed contracts. A contract may be executory or executed. In any executory contract, something remains to be performed. Look at you, Sonia, cooking with gas. something needs to be performed by one or both parties. And it did seem like that's what ratification meant with regard to what was found previously. But in the book, we're going to run with what's in the book and not what's on the World Wide Web, because that is not beneficial to you doing the open book exam. Most of the time I go to the online, go on to the interwebs, because the interwebs will give us a watered down version, but it just made things more complicated. And I do apologize for that.
For the open book exam, will we be able to use the PDF and do control find? Because that would be super helpful.
As far as I'm concerned, open book is open book.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that, right? They have it set that way for a reason. So yes, I'm going to say yes. The answer is always going to be yes when it comes to me. And even any of my students that do the student directed stuff where they're doing independent study, I'll say the exact same thing. Like, hey guys, if this is the best way to help you pass that exam. Some of my classes too, like if you are doing student directed, I'll allow you to take the quiz as many times as you want to, in order to get a more formal understanding of what it is that's being asked of you. And sometimes I even have students say, the quiz says that this is the answer. I don't think this is the answer. This is the answer. And I'll get like a page number and I'll go review both of them. And I'll go, oh, okay. So I'll add that as a second version of an answer, and I'll give them extra credit for that. Cause I'm like, okay, I can see why they would say that's the answer. And the book does state X, Y, and Z. Cause sometimes the quizzes, sometimes the quizzes are basically preset. I don't do the digital online quizzes. So it's like, okay, but for some of the student directed stuff, I can change up things, or I can note or send something to the powers that be and go, hey, you guys, this could be a second answer. It does make sense. The book does state X, Y, and that kind of stuff. I'm all about making sure you guys are, I was about to say feeling loved. What classes am I teaching right now, guys? It's been a long day. Okay, so let's look up executed. So we're going to do executed contract and see what it says. Did it say anything on here? Executor and executed void valid. It's got to be here. QTED. Here we go. In an executed contract, all parties have performed and completed. Yeah. So see. Oh wait, did I already copy this and put it in there? I probably did. Am I doing multiple copies? I am. So I technically did not need to do that. I'm deleting that one. So right here, it says a contract may be executory. So we're going to bolden that. Or executed. In an executory contract. I could also make this larger, guys. We don't have to have it as small as I have it. I do apologize. Something remains to be performed. So we know that something remains in escrow is that that is not yet closed. But an executed contract, let's bolden that part. All parties have performed completely in one of executory means there's a wait, there's something that's stopping it, right? That's hindering it. We don't know exactly what it is as of yet. And executed contract means it's done. And we are going to the bank with our commission, and we are happy as clams for our deal. Okay. And we've got a couple other ones here. Let's make it larger so Kathy can see it. There we go. This is for me, not for you. Well, it's for all of us. Question on unit 2, number 17. The word time, title, interest, and possession are most likely related to, the answer says for survivorship, but there are 4 unities of joint tenancy. Time, title, interest, and possession. Let's look up time, title, interest, and possession. Oh my gosh. No, not a problem. I know people have to go. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Okay. No, I understand. So I'm going to keep going. For those of you who got to go, I totally get it. So time, title, interest, and possession. Let's look that up. Where is the time title? Let's see if it'll let us. Time, title, interest, and possession are the T-tip, the mnemonic for the 4 unities of joint tenancy. Time, title, interest, and possession. Huh. In order to have joint tenancy for unities, time, title, interest, possession must exist. If any one of the unities is missing, a tenancy in common is created. Number 4, the word time, title, interest, and possession are most likely. I wonder, it's got to be wrong. Joint tenancy. All requirements for a joint tenancy, time, title, interest, and possession will then be fulfilled. Okay, hold on a second. This is number 17 for unit 2. Let's go over to page 361. We're going to go into the cheat sheet and see what the method to the madness is for the question, because I think that the question is actually wrong. But I've been wrong. So unit 2, went too far. We're in the math appendix A. Apologies for everyone that's still here. We're going to get, oops, I went way too far. The computer is flipping out. Okay. 355. We'll go to 340. So we can get to the cheat sheet. Okay, that's unit 15. We've got to get to unit 2. Unit 9. Unit 5. Okay, here we go. Unit 2, the answer to number 17 says we've got to get justification. The 4 unities of joint tenancy, if formed properly, a joint tenancy creates a right of survivorship. Ownership of real property creates a right of survivorship. All right, so we know that on page 327, oops, it states something very small. That's what that states. We're going to make that 22. Okay, so but the 4 unities of joint tenancy. So joint tenancy is associated with the right of survivorship, right? Okay, so now that we know that's that, let's go up to page 15. I think it's about page 15 where the questions are. Now, if joint tenancy wasn't an option, here we go. So we'd be at the end of this. So we'd be closer to page 20. Sorry, guys. I know that I'm jumping all over the map, but we're trying. Oh, yeah, here we go. So it would be page 21 is the questions. All right. So we have the matching, and let's move down to why. Oh, no, it's 17, not number 2. Come on, Kath. Whoa, we went a little too far. Scroll back up. The words time, title, and interest, and possession are most closely related to severalty. If it's severalty, survivorship, sole ownership, adverse possession. So it would be, the answer is survivorship, because joint tenancy is time, title, interest, and possession, and the right of survivorship. So it is this question is accurate, but I can see why the way the question was written, I'm like, I don't know the answer. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go like this, and we are going to go here. So we're going to add this number 17. So number 17, the words time, title, interest, and possession are most closely related. Now, this is a great example. I don't know why I'm yelling. This is a great example on why we must know what all 4 of these words mean. Severalty, survivorship, sole ownership, and then adverse possession. Adverse possession, we immediately know that adverse possession is about trying to take someone else's property right under their nose for 5 years, right? And paying the property taxes. Sole ownership means that it's owned by one person. There would be no right of survivorship. It wouldn't be joint tenancy right here, right? Because we know that the answer and information is right here. What's this? This is 33. So let's make this 33 as well. So it all plays into the same font. So there are 4 unities of joint tenancy. Joint tenancy is what is actually at play right here, because time, title, interest, and possession are associated with joint tenancy. And because they are, if formed properly, a joint tenancy creates the right of survivorship. And I shared with you guys the story of the family that I knew where the 5 siblings all owned a property as joint tenancy, and 2 of two of the siblings paid the other 3 off by getting a loan out on the property. But they never took it out of joint tenancy. And one of the people that paid it off, as well as paid the mortgage on that money, is no longer with us. And even though the other 3 people, including the one that's still surviving, the 3 that were paid off, promised her that her children would get the property. Now that she's gone, the children don't get anything. Joint tenancy is associated with right of survivorship, not the heirs of survivor, not the surviving heirs, the surviving tenants that are on title together. So it does make sense. So do you guys remember what severalty means? Let's do this. We have to, let's look up the other words, right?
One person, severalty is one person or an entity,
Okay. Look at you. That's
I
awesome.
think.
Yeah.
No.
No, I like it. We're running with it. One person or entity. Okay. Survivorship is obviously could be heirs or it could be joint tenants, right? So I think we know that one. We're going to leave it blank because we know that's the answer. Sole ownership means by one, right? Again, owned by one of whatever. And then adverse possession is process of taking another's property. So technically the only answer could be survivorship, which would be surviving owners, but there's like more detail than that. So these are the 4 unities of joint tenancy. If formed properly, a joint tenancy creates a right of survivorship. So the surviving owners, or the owners still alive, probably a better way of putting it. Sounds like they all were like on a boat, you know, for a 3-hour tour or something like that. Owners still alive. So that way we can explain the answer, because the way it was expressed, I'm like, oh yeah, that doesn't sound right. Yes, isn't that so? The thing about these kind of questions, if you know what it's severalty. Sorry, I missed the Y, y'all. If you know what severalty is, if you know what sole ownership is, if you know what adverse possession is, and you're like, still don't think it's survivorship. But if you understand that joint tenancy is time, title, interest, and possession, meaning that if you, let's say Sonia, Nancy and I are buying a property together and we are joint tenants. We're like, you know what, we're going to do this joint tenancy thing because my kids aren't getting nothing. No, I didn't say that, but we're going to get a property together as joint tenants. So I go on a 3-hour tour and I'm lost at sea and I'm no longer around. We all had a third interest in the property. I'm no longer on this earth. I'm somewhere in the ocean, right? So now Nancy and Sonia own the property 50-50 because they are the surviving tenants, or they're the owners that are still alive. And in that respect, you could kind of go, okay, I can understand survivorship, because when a joint tenancy is formed properly, it creates a right of survivorship, meaning that we bought this property together, and as much as I want my kids to have it, and it's in my will, that technically I knew walking in the door that joint tenancy meant that Sonia and Nancy are going to get the property if something happens to me. So it's walking through each of those. And this is a great example on the state exam of you going, I cannot understand the answer. But if I go, okay, severalty is one or one entity, one person or one entity. Sole ownership means by themselves. So there's no, if they die, it's gone. There's no survivorship, time, title, interest, and possessions associated with being joint tenants with someone, so it can't be that one. Adverse possession is snaking someone's property over the course of 5 years and paying the property taxes under their nose. The only answer it could be is survivorship. And then you're like, okay, if push comes to shove, I got the answer based on the fact that I knew the other 3 terms and what they meant. And that's passing the state exam 101, which sounds, I don't know, maybe kind of crazy. Okay, and adverse possession. Adverse possession. I like adverse possession. I like the idea of it. I think it'd be a cool movie. But the reality of the situation is there are 6 things that go along with adverse possession. Do you guys remember what all 6 of them are? You've got to do, hold on, let's look them up. Forget me looking stuff up online. It's going to cause more confusion, and I'm not here for confusion. I really am here to help you guys, and I don't want to cause more problems. So let's see, adverse possession should be on page 31. And if it's on page 31 and we're in the PDF, then it's probably on 37, 36. No, let's go to 31 and see what happens. Forget it. We're going to do adverse possession. How close are we? Adverse possession, quiet title, action, accurate. Let's see, where's the next one? Okay, here we go. Adverse possession, ownership of real property can be acquired by adverse possession or doing something a little shady. I call it shady, but it's legal. I don't know. I mean, a lot of stuff that's shady is legal, but I digress. The property must be occupied without the owner's knowledge. It cannot be publicly owned. So you can't go cop a squat at a national park and be like, I've been paying the taxes. And the government's like, nope, not today. Adverse possession is the ability to obtain title by occupying land for a statutory period of time, 5 years, without the permission of the owner, under their nose, putting up a gate and doing all the things. So let's see, there are 6 requirements. Paying the property taxes is most difficult requirement, especially if you have a difficult person at the assessor's office. And is this your address? And why are you paying it? And anyway, you need a Nancy, you need a Karen. I shouldn't say Nancy. Nancy, I'm thinking of you in a positive light, and yet I pulled your name out like it was a Karen, and I do apologize. Let's go into adverse possession. I thought I had copied it and I had not. Okay, well, that's good to know. My computer might be telling me it's time to go, and I'm okay with that too. So we'll let this be the last thing. And I do apologize. I know it's late, and I do appreciate each and every one of you for staying. We can sing this a long farewell Ad Wiedersehen in a minute, but right now we've got to get this going. Okay. Okay. There we go. Let's get the font to where Kathy's eyes don't feel like they really have to go to Costco and get checked tomorrow. Make it 33. Make it 28. Nah, 28 works. Okay. So when it comes to adverse possession, not that anyone in the class at this moment in time needs to know this information, but for the sake of the sake, we are going to go through because you guys did ask. And what you ask for, I shall help with to the best of my ability. In addition, adverse possession. In addition, I didn't get the in addition part. That's okay. So let's go back. So this is page 31. Let's go back to page 31. Page 31. All right, let's jump back into it. So in order for adverse possession, we're just going to take this out because I think that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 6. We won't worry about what. Now, if you would like to go further with your reading and all the things, I'm totally down for that, especially if you can't sleep. Read about, not adverse possession, read about life estates, joint tenancy, or something along those lines. It'll put you to sleep, I promise. So when it comes to adverse possession, page 31, you've got to do 6 things to make it work. There are 6 requirements. If Kathy can spell requirements, there are 6 requirements. Open possession. This does not mean you can walk down the street with a can of beer. Open possession is the assertion of control, such as fencing the property. Whenever I think of open possession, I always think of things like in Vegas, you can walk down the street with a mixed drink or something. That's open possession. In real estate, open possession is associated with adverse possession. And this means you're on someone else's property. You put a white picket fence around the area that you're living your best life on, and you're doing it amongst everyone. Like if the neighbors see, they're going to see your fence, and chances are they're going to tell the person that owns the property, and you don't care because you're doing it because you're doing it. It must be notorious, such as a reasonable owner of the property would otherwise recognize. And even though I'm not a detail-oriented person, I'm definitely going to know if someone put a fence up around a part of a property that I live on, right? Continuous use for the 5-year time period. This is the one, there's a lot of struggle with this, but this is one of the kickers. Let's make sure it's bolded. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no problem. Oh my gosh, no problem. I'm getting private messages. Sorry. I'm not, I'm all over the map. And where's my coffee? I need to finish this. Okay. So continuous use for 5 years. You've got to do this notoriously, right? You've got to have open possession. You've got to go onto someone's property, put a fence around, do it as if you own it. Walk in like you own it. The same way like a supermodel is walking down the runway, but the reality of the situation is the shoes are too small, the zipper is broken on the dress, she's walking with her hand on her hip, she's owning every step and hoping she doesn't trip over her feet because these are fabulous shoes, but the reality is the zipper is broken, the shoes are too small, but she's walking it like she owns it. So that's open possession, doing it notorious. Continuous for 5 years. I don't know of anybody that can do the runway for 5 years straight in a pair of shoes that are too small, but I digress. Pay property taxes on the disputed property for the entire 5 years of the disputed claim. I don't try to get people to crime better, but in reality, if I were to do something like this, I wouldn't just pay the property taxes on a small portion of the property. I would pay property taxes on all of the property and take it all down, because you only have to cop a squat or camp out on one part of said property with the fence. Hostile, you've got to do it without the original owner's permission. And just like we were talking about, there was a gal, I think her name was Nancy. It started her last name, her name, it was either Nancy or Betty. It ended with a Y, and it was a really sweet lady. Bought the property between Morgan Hill and Santa Cruz in the Santa Cruz Morgan Hill mountain area, and found that somebody had built a house on the property that she had purchased. She didn't know how long they were there. She didn't ask them questions. She just served them with rental papers. It's possible they were there for longer than 5 years. Could they have gotten her on adverse possession? Probably, but I don't think they knew the owner of the property, nor do I think that they know that they built on someone else's. They probably thought they built on theirs. And they probably took a class from me on property descriptions, and we're like, Kathy doesn't know what she's talking about. And that's why we talked about that earlier today, because I don't. So I need you guys to review meets and bounds and all the things. Okay. So getting back to it, hostile without the owner's permission, and then adverse to a claim of right. So they have adverse possession, but they must claim title. So once you've done all these other things for 5 years, then you got to go to court and say, Your Honor, I own this property outright, and I've paid the taxes for the last 5 years because, and even though John Doe's name is on title, I have proof that I've been quote unquote taking care of said property because I've been living my best life here, and I have proof that I'm living there. Here's a picture. Here's me waving at the neighbor or whatever the situation is. But the paying of the property taxes for the last 5 years will solidify the fact that I have taken over possession, and it's adverse to the ownership because I didn't pay them for the property, but I'm taking it over as if it is my own. And that, ladies, gents, everybody above and beyond, let's make sure that we put this in the chat again so that you guys have this. And as soon as I figure out what I just did with that screen, that went bye-bye, because I'm really good at that. There you are. Let me share this, copy the link. Oh, let me go over to Twitch and see if anybody asked any questions, but I don't think anybody did. But if you did, I do apologize for those of you that are in there and you're like, Kathy, we've been waiting for 2 hours. Well, I'm glad you're here. So this is the link to the to our Google Drive, and no questions. Sweet. Well, I'm glad you guys didn't ask any questions. That's amazing. Awesome. Oh, wow. All my tweets are in here. Oh, I forgot that it does that. Okay. I am definitely all over the map, and I do apologize for that, but I want to thank you all for being here. If you have any questions or concerns, I am an email away. I am a phone call away. Let me put that in chat. You can ask any questions. If you have questions for the next thing, we're going to try to do Thursdays. If Thursdays don't work for you, that's okay too. You can still email me questions and we can still make this work. 732-723-7326 is my Google Voice. Oh my gosh, of course. Are you kidding? Thank you for being a blessing and being in here. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I want to encourage, yeah, hands up. Feel free to give us a chat-alec.
Hi, Kathy. I had a question. So someone was speaking, I think it was Chantal in the class right now, about the open book exam. I think I've got it right, but she said something about we can search the vocabulary on the PDF file. Now, is that through the Google Drive?
Oh, absolutely. So you have a copy of the Google Drive, and here.
Okay, because I think I know what she was talking about. Like, I go to the Google Drive and then I can look up the information that we reviewed for the courses. And then when we're taking the test, I can look up information through the Google Drive, correct? Or am I?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But one of the things I would do, I'm just as an example, I'm in right now. If you want to look up, if the question's about adverse possession, you're like, I can't remember what it is. If you control, I'm going to take this out. If you do control, it's either the Windows key F or control F, depending upon which one you have. And you put in adverse possession, or you can put in, you can find the word. So if there's another word, I'm trying to get the one like executory. What was one of the ones that Sonia gave us? That was executory.
I believe it was, or executive something.
So as you can see, if you type it in without spelling it wrong, like Kathy does, you can actually, the words will pop up at the bottom. You can click on it and you see that there's one of 11 options in the book. So in the 372 pages, and you just click,
and then I'll show you,
it'll pop. Yeah. So you'll be able to find it a lot quicker. I think, and then of course, Adobe's like, that's all of them, Kathy. Okay. Then you go the opposite direction. You go backwards versus
backwards and look right. Okay.
Yeah. So that'll help you in regards to finding that kind of stuff. But and there is terminology at the end of the book. So there is a glossary, but there's also, there's a glossary of terms, but then there's also a glossary of specific words that will also get you to particular pages. So there might be a word like executory and it says it's on page 11, comma, page 45, and that will get you to those pages as well. But I'm just going to tell you right now that control F is going to be the thing. Come on. That's going to be the thing that that I think will help you in a timely fashion. But I'm not I want to help you quiz well. And the more familiar you are with these words, and then the ones you're like, these are the ones I just can't get, like ratification. I need to review it personally. How many years have I been in it? And I explained it in a manner that was not going to benefit you per real estate in California. So, okay, Kathy, you need to go pull that word, re-review it, find the information out on it, and polish yourself on it, because I have not used it. So if you're not using out of the, I think Calibri has like 1,800 words that you can learn or know for this, for to be in this. And then the Department of Real Estate has 754. I'm still going to encourage you to only know the 754 terms and meanings. It's not that I don't want you to know all of the other ones, but the ones that'll get you past the state exam are the ones that I want you to be focused on. But even after knowing all of that stuff, there are still going to be areas where you need to look up information. So I'm at like a 90% pass rate right now. But I'm still not right on all of it. So I just want to encourage you guys, I just need you to pass the state, or excuse me, the open book and the state exam, the open book exams by 70%. And I know you guys can do it. Thank you for the Zoom meeting. Oh, absolutely. And I'll have this stuff uploaded tomorrow. So anybody that's got to go, I understand it's late, guys. We started at 6:30. It's been 2 hours. I don't know how you guys
have another question, Kathleen.
Of course. Yeah.
I wanted to know more information. I know with classes ending already, it's been kind of a long day for all of us that have been in class today. But if you could, when you get a chance, if you could send me some information about the Title XX, because I know we talked vaguely a little bit during class today, but not too much.
Title, say it one more time.
It was something, I wrote it down in my notes. Something about the title. I believe you said something about Title X. Or title pertaining to that.
Yeah, that was in class.
Yes, it was today, and we went over just a little bit, and then we went real quick, and then it was the end of that. So I was like, I'm gonna ask later. So I know it's late right now. So if we can,
that's okay.
If you can email me later.
Of course. And then let me put it also in the PowerPoint because this is being recorded.
Okay.
So let's make
Okay.
sure that we have it in, and I'll look up. I remember that conversation, or I remember saying, yeah, we'll get to it. And then
That's why I was like, I'll ask
Um,
later.
don't feel bad about that. Always ask, and in my classes, don't feel however you want to feel. But if I say I'm gonna answer a question and I don't answer a question, it's okay to remind me. Just like
Mhm.
when you go, hey Kathy, can you please share the screen? Because I'll just be like 2 pages later. I'm like, what? Share what? Oh my gosh, I'm not sharing with you guys. Okay, so Title X or Title 10. I know that we were going to be talking. There was something else. I'll
I
have
just
to look
remember
that one
what
up.
what I do kind of remember you saying is something that you do need to know the titles. And then I went, titles, what titles?
Oh,
And then I went and we
titles
went to something else. And then
and
I was like, hold
acts.
on.
Yeah,
Yes.
and acts. And I can understand where it would sound like X. So any of the acts that have been placed, like so any of the propositions, so the proposition 13,
Okay.
the acts and different things like that. It's okay. We'll get to here. Let me do this. I'm gonna go look up all legislation with regard to acts and or title, and see if that will help me, and I'll be able to push through on that on the last, and it's most likely in unit 7 and 8 because those are the
Yes.
units that we were talking about, and I'll be able to get that. But yeah, no, that totally makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I appreciate, because I'm like, yeah, we talked about, and then I was like,
And then I just remember writing it down. That's all I did.
Oh, no, it's okay. I appreciate you keeping me keeping me on track. Do people actually pass the state exam on the first try? Yes, they do. So interesting thing, pre-pandemic, through the pandemic, we were at a 43% passing rate. And then on this side of things, I was talking to another instructor, and she was sharing with me that the passing rate is above 50%, which it hasn't been in a long time. So it seems as though the people that are walking in to take the state exam now are hitting the ground running. Oh, and I got an email, and I feel so bad. She might've been in class and I forgot. Guys, I do apologize. She messaged me. It was, Darianne messaged me at 3:24 this evening, said, hello, Professor Khan. I'm in emailing you to let you know that I was able to register for and complete my real estate exam. I managed to pass with my first attempt, and I feel like your support throughout some stuff about me. Thank you again for your yada yada. And I messaged her and I said, hey, we're going to be in class tonight. Why don't you come in and tell us your experience? Because if you guys can talk to somebody that's gone through the same experience that you have through the educational process, that would be amazing. And I didn't get a chance. Oh, absolutely. I know people have got to go. I totally get it. I apologize that I've kept you guys this long, but I don't apologize for answering questions. That's why you can jump ship at any time. Anyway, I'm trying to get students that have that have just recently taken the 3 courses and or passed the state exam to come in and talk to you guys so they can tell you what they did or how they felt when they were taking the first exam and stuff. So hopefully by Thursday, I've only messaged like 8 people, but I'm like, where are y'all? But the thing is, if they did have a 3-day weekend and they're trying to hit the ground running because Tuesday was Monday or whatever the situation. But I promise people do want to talk to you guys. I just don't know where they are. So all of that being said, if you have any additional questions or concerns, we will seriously walk through that. But I do not want to keep you past 8:30 unless you want to stay, because I am here. I'm here. She's here. She's finally wound down. She did the Zoomies before. We had the squeaker back there and then in front. And anyway. So, but if you have any additional questions, the acts, we will go over that, and I will have that situated. And actually, we should probably do a complete PowerPoint on all the acts associated with what should be expected you to know. There are other PowerPoints we have that are associated with the different things with regard to the business code. Like there's when we get to that book, we'll get to that. And when we get to that chapter, we'll get to it because we're not there yet, but we're going to be hitting the ground running, finishing 8, 9, 10, 11, through 15 for Tuesday. So if you want to jump forward and review those units, the unit questions, and take notes on the stuff that you guys would like to hit the ground running with for Thursday up next week, you can ask me questions about that, and we can get a PowerPoint built for that. And even possibly do a review Tuesday night, maybe do a live sesh then that night so that you guys feel completely prepared. Would that make you guys feel better? Okay. Thumbs up is always a good thing. I think it's your thumb and not your middle finger. I'm just kidding. I know it's not. So yeah. Okay, Stacy, no problem. I totally get it. Absolutely. So why don't we do this? I'll send out a notice saying that we're going to do a live sesh for Tuesday evening. So anything that we need deep dive that we didn't deep dive Tuesday, we'll deep dive Tuesday evening. And then that way you guys will have as much information as I can possibly give you at your fingertips to successfully I know you're going to pass the exam. I'm not worried about the open book exam with you guys. I'm more worried about the ones that don't ask the questions than I am with the ones that do ask and keep me on target. So with that being said, I will set up the Zoom for Tuesday. I love the wave. Have a wonderful evening. Be blessed and encouraged. We'll hit the ground running Tuesday morning, and I will get the link in as well as this information up onto that Google Drive for you guys so that you have it. And we'll get the quizzes in Google. I thought I could get them done, but as you can tell, my time, I am not great with time, but I want to be. So I'm going to keep pushing forward. But have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you on Tuesday, and I will have Zoom links for the Tuesday sesh probably done tonight so that we're ahead of the ship or ahead of the game for next week. Okay. All right. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful weekend. Be blessed and encouraged. And I will see you next week. Thank you.